the logical mind as well, or is it a separate mind of its own? Well, you could call the ego self a part of the logical mind. The logical mind is the bit that says, "Oh, you can't do this. You've got to be this. You've got to be that. You've got to be really sensible. You've got to be that can't possibly be so." It's that very sort of practical part of ourselves. The ego element, or well, using that term, the ego element of our own psyche is the bit that is partly linked, I would say, as far as the logical self is concerned, but it will do things based on, the ego self tends to do things based on fears to a certain extent, or its own levels of insecurities, or of how it's learning how to operate within the physical self. So the ego self is there, as I said earlier, in terms of logical mind, in order to give us this feeling of protection of the physical. Because if you think about it, when we pass over, when we leave our physical self, the ego element that's there to protect the physical body also has to die. It has to go, because it's no longer something that's there to protect the physical, because the physical no longer exists. But the essence of us, the intelligence of us, is never ending. In some instances, it's an imprint left. Wherever we've been in life, we leave an imprint of our energy. So the intelligence of us, the intelligence of all that is, kind of thing, is left as part of the connection to the whole. So, for instance, when the ego self leaves the physical world, because obviously it does have a fear, it's operated through fear, because its ultimate fear is the fear of losing the physical body. So it will do what it perceives as a way of protecting it. So where does the ego sit in the mind? What we're talking about is it's right up there. It's up there as part of our existence, and often we get caught in situations where we can't see beyond it, for the simple reason that if we're then experiencing fear, it's doing everything to protect the physical. So fear can manifest in various different forms. It can be a literal fear of something, or it could be a fear of moving forward, or a fear of change, or all that kind of stuff. It's up there. So what will happen is the ego self will present whatever it is that we are a little bit challenged by as far as moving forward is concerned, especially if it's presented by the deeper elements of the self. It will go like that. Say, "Oh no, we can't do it, can't do it, can't do it," and come up with all kinds of reasons as to why it's not a good idea. And the reason its reasoning will be in order to prevent change, which could then possibly create a situation where the physical is put into harm, and therefore the ultimate fear is we lose the physical self. And what happens when we do that? We're gone. And that's the way it sees it. So with that part of the self, it's very much here. So part of the development process, and part of what your experience has been, without doubt, will be, rather than it be in this format in your life, is for it to relax a bit. So it does its job, which is to protect the physical, but it's losing that fear. So it will then move forward with the feeling that it's still connected to the essence self, and begins to sort of trust the essence self to say, well, it's okay. The essence self will be saying, well, we're here to experience X, Y, Z, which is an emotional response to certain situations, and we're learning how to integrate these parts. So come on with me in order to enjoy that process. So then what happens is this part, the ego self, begins to calm down and engage with the essence. So they have join as a relationship between the two components, rather than fighting each other. Well, the essence self doesn't really fight it, it's just saying, come on. And the ego self, for instance, stops fighting that process. So what you then find is, certainly during your levels of development, this, calms down significantly, so that the what seems to be logical process, linear ways of looking at things becomes more settled and centered as a combination of energies in order to feel that the whole lot's connected. Okay.